be the chair of this great organization, which is having some of the most important policy influence around children and aging issues in this country. It has fingerprints in quiet ways and important programs and policy, and we want you to know more about that. Today, we're starting what will be periodic briefings like this to bring to the attention of the public the importance of having concerted, well-thought-out aging and children's policy issues. Those issues oftentimes tend to be demonized and cannibalized, generations pitted against each other, and the truth is we cannot have a healthy society without valuing seniors and children, and Generations United has stood in the breach around those issues for a number of years, and we want to position ourselves even more prominently to make sure that policy is respectful of all in this country. Our mission is to improve the lives of children, youth, and older people through intergenerational collaboration, public policy, and programs with enduring benefits for all. So it is my privilege to welcome you to this first annual event, and we want to call on policymakers and media to recognize what people outside the Beltway understand every day, that it's not a fight, it's a family that we're all about. It's not a fight, it's a family. My privilege to introduce Donna Butts, who is the CEO of Generations United, and she's going to guide us through this day. She is an outstanding CEO of any kind, but especially tailor-made and God-sent for the mission of Generation of United. She leads a strong, committed board. We're her fan club, and she leads an outstanding staff and does amazing work on a shoestring, rubber bands, paper clips, and the commitment of great people. Donna, take it away.
Thank you, Larry. And I'd like to add, good morning. Good morning. It's wonderful that you're here today. We really appreciate your joining us for what we hope will be the beginning of a wonderful new path for Generations United and our work. We're gathered here today for Family Matters to suggest that there should be a better framework, a better way of approaching policies in this country. And we've developed a report that's in your packets called Family Matters, Public Policy and the Interdependence of Generations, that we hope you'll look at, you'll think about, you'll argue with us about it, you'll help us strengthen it, but you'll become a part of it. Over 200 years ago, Thomas Jefferson said, "The web of mutual obligations between generations is essential for a civilized society." Unfortunately, some modern-day leaders suggest people need to choose between which generation to support, young or old, but never both. American families are hurting. Communities across America are faced with reduced tax revenues and increased demands for help. Today, record numbers of families are living together, creating multi-generational households, those with 3 or more generations under one roof. Circumstances forcing these changes are putting strains on families at a level not seen since the Great Depression, and they must be addressed. Still, out of difficult times come opportunities, and this time presents some pretty tremendous opportunity. Policymakers and leaders need to support the invaluable role extended families and communities play in providing that safety net, ensuring the well-being and supporting the ultimate productivity of our nation's most valuable asset, its people. Generations United was founded on the belief that our country can and should support its most valuable and vulnerable generations, the bookends, young and old, that hold our civil society together. Policymakers or other leaders who pit generations and their advocates against each other don't solve the problem of scarce budget resources. They exacerbate it. Now is the time to create and implement policies that help generations help each other, thereby strengthening our economy. If we neglect this opportunity to make smart investments in human capital across the lifespan and abandon support for the growing interdependence of generations, we risk failure in the form of wasteful spending, increased public divisiveness, and policies that further hurt American families and communities. Good public policies, like Social Security, public education, affordable health care, do not benefit one generation at the expense of others. They're policies that help us all. They're policies that recognize investments in human capital development across the lifespan prepare us to be competitive in a global economy. We must look at the generations as interdependent. The public agrees with this intergenerational framework for effective policymaking. A new poll commissioned by Generations United and conducted by Harris Interactive found that 76% of respondents believe publicly funded programs targeted to a specific age group, such as 12 through K education or Social Security, are not burdensome responsibilities to certain age groups, but investments that benefit all generations. 83% of respondents somewhat or strongly agreed that politicians pit one generation against another in order to limit public support for government-funded child care, health care, Social Security, and other programs. While support for policies that connect generations is strong, it's disturbing how many people live in an age-segregated world, that we created. Nearly 40% of those responding to the poll reported no regular interaction with members of other generations. 40%. We need to change this. People of all generations, past, present, and future, are bound together as a means to survive and thrive. A single-age approach to making public policy has led to complicated, competitive silos of age-segregated funding streams, services, and programs. The budget crisis requires us to find a way to construct a new framework of civil connections. It will require consensus on a set of intergenerational principles on which to build a new civil architecture that recognizes and engages all generations and guides the reshaping of U.S. relationships with the budget. Generations United's new report, Family Matters, Public Policy and the Interdependence of Generations, directs us to explore what these principles must include. It calls on policymakers to invest across the lifespan where returns are greatest, improving quality of life, ensuring safety and economic security, and promoting human capital development. We have specific recommendations in certain areas, such as investments across the lifespan, health, Social Security, tax revenue, and the budget process and analysis. Among other recommendations, we call for key supports at transitional phases in life for policies that support early learning, flexibility in the workplace, all the way through hospice care. We recommend that we do away with single-age spaces, and rather than create new senior centers, teen centers, child care centers, we develop or retrofit facilities that are multi-generational, those that save dollars while making sense, that encourage intergenerational interaction while still providing spaces and places where generations can be alone with their own age group, just not all the time. We recommend that healthcare policies be examined from the perspective of all generations and address the rising healthcare costs. We must protect and improve Social Security as a program that provides lifetime financial security for workers, people with disabilities, children and family members, and retirees. And we need to strengthen it by reinstating the student benefit and ensuring that it's accessible to non-traditional families like grandfamilies. We recommend that spending, including entitlements and tax expenditures, be subject to the principle of lifetime productivity and shared sacrifice based on people's ability to pay. We call on Congress and the White House to champion a White House conference on the generations, calling for advocates and leaders across the ages to come together to jointly plan coordinated policies and programs to support America's ability to capitalize on our greatest asset, people of all ages. Good public policies recognize that investments in human capital development across the lifespan prepare us to be competitive in a global economy. Later this morning, we're convening a summit on generations, and we've asked a select group of people to come together with us and work with us to help craft that set of intergenerational principles. So you'll be hearing more about that as that work moves on. We want to invite all of you to join us as we work to find ways to build and support stronger connections between generations so we can improve the well-being and quality of life for all, secure our nation's safety net, and support investments in human capital to ensure strong economic growth. It's time for all of us to remember it's not a fight, it's family. Thank you. Well, I'm very, very excited today that some dear friends of Generations United, members of our board, strategic advisors, have joined us to have what we hope is going to be a provocative and stimulating discussion. But I'm really delighted that a good friend of Generations United, Juan Williams, has agreed to spend this morning with us. Juan is a highly regarded journalist and commentator. He's a valued friend and supporter of Generations United. He's one of our strategic advisors. And Juan has agreed to moderate today. So Juan, thank you and welcome.
A highly regarded journalist. Gee, Don, thanks. I was thinking the same thing. Well, for those of you who are from out of town, welcome to Washington. It's kind of overcast today, but we've had the benefit of just great weather over the last several days. We got a big football game tonight. If you really want to know when it gets cold in Washington, we don't look so much to the weather or Thanksgiving or Christmas, any of that, the start of winter. We just look around. If the politicians have their hands in their own pockets, you know it's cold. This is a great, great opportunity for all of us to talk about something that goes beyond politics, that really speaks to the way that we as Americans live, that the way that our families are put together, and the increasing pressures on our American families. And so, Donna, and to Generations United, thank you so much for calling our attention to this, for bringing us together and bringing together smart people to talk about critical issues in American society today. One of the things that you will notice if you look at Census Bureau reports is the fact that already a quarter of the American population is under the age of 18, and it's soon to be the case that a quarter of the American population, with 2011 marking the start of baby boomers turning age 65, that you will soon see that a quarter of the American population is over that age, over 65 and in that senior category. So it's as if you have a barbell in American life in terms of the American demographic. And on one end of that barbell are young people, and on the other end are the seniors. And it's easy to imagine in that kind of description that there would be tensions between the two. But what Donna Butts and Generations United are offering us is a different picture, a picture in which you have family coming together to surmount so many of those generational tensions that some, and I would point to the political class, could easily exploit by pitting one against the other. This is an opportunity to talk about family matters in a way that speaks not just to budgets, but to priorities, the priorities that we hold as an American people, and the way in which we can, in fact, find common ground across generational lines. This has particular power, this conversation, in this moment because of the economic issues that are so impacting the American family. I find it incredible when I look at the numbers in the news these days about how many families are now being forced to live together under one roof because of economic pressures. I find it very interesting when I look at government budgets and how budget priorities are too often being separated between seniors and children as if they are competing. Of course, children don't vote, and in some cases, seniors aren't heard, aren't recognized. But somehow, as I say, get pitted against each other. So this morning, what we want to do is to have conversations, serious conversations about budget priorities, about the American family, about changes in family structure, and how, in fact, we can avoid the tragedy of an accident that some would have us on the road to, which is seniors and young people colliding rather than finding a way to travel together down this road.